Yeah. Because no,
Yes, yes.
YouTube's volume was on, so it was coming echo from that side.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Now wait for
We can
only
begin.
1 minute, 1 second. Now we'll start. Okay. Shall we start again?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, Sorry for the technical glitches. I heartily welcome the acclaimed masters of today's session, esteemed academicians, renowned professors, respected spokespersons, dear students and friends. A very good afternoon, one and all, and I wholeheartedly welcome all of you in this international panel discussion. COVID-19 pandemic has taken a significant toll on people all across the world. The entire globe is stunned with its dreadful impact, and here we have a wide range of experts to talk on how the virus has affected various walks of life. As many as 213 countries and territories have registered COVID-19 cases, and the entire world is buzzing with uncertainty and question. How long will the pandemic last? What will people's lives look like once the pandemic is over? And here we have our expert committee to tell you the facts and facets of the virus and answer a few of the universal questions. We have with us stalwarts of and masters of various fields, say like a virologist, molecular biologist, an award-winning novelist and spiritualist, educationalist and psycho analytical expert. Without much ado, I would like to happily start of the session. Uh, Friends, um, what I will do first, I will introduce first speaker, and then that expert will talk on his views. Then I will introduce another speaker, and it will go on. Okay, so let me introduce the expert panelist, Dr. Siti Noor from University of Terengganu, Malaysia. Uh, Dr. Siti Noor is a senior lecturer and a biological science program coordinator at University Malaysia Terengganu, and Dr. Siti holds a PhD from Australian National University in Medical Sciences in virology in 2011. Before being appointed as a university lecturer, Dr. Siti was a research assistant at the University of Malaya, specializing in HIV drug resistance studies. We can. She awarded a visiting lecture scholarship from the Ocean University of China in 2018. Dr. Siti has been actively working on virology research and published in various journals. Her past and current research results on the development of vaccine from a hybrid of bacterial protein and virus like practical uh, particle, we can say VLP. Dr. Siti and her team are currently studying on the potential use of VLP. She will explain what is it. And her research team is also working on the discovery of novel antiviral and antibacterial agent from the marine sources. So currently her research team is looking at the potential antiviral activity of a mud crab protein against dengue virus. So we are very happy to have you here, ma'am. So the session is open for your presentation, ma'am. Over to you, Dr.
Right.
Siti, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you, sir, for a very warm introduction. And it is certainly a pleasure for me to join this international webinar series. And I would also personally like to thank Dr. Ramia for this opportunity, and also greetings to all panelists and for the chairperson again. And good afternoon for all online attendees. So allow me to share my PowerPoint slides.
Yes.
Right. So for today's seminar, I have chosen to present my views on the current COVID-19 pandemic, which is entitled the coronavirus, the virus that has enveloped the world. So basically, the reason why I chose this particular topic for today's seminar is because the coronavirus is literally an envelope virus in its structure. So that is from the virological point of view. And this particular virus is now known to have caused a significant pandemic, and it's still ongoing, a global pandemic. And the virus, and the problem is now easily addressed as COVID-19. So that is my detail. I am from University Malaysia Terengganu, and if you like to reach me and to know more about my current research, which is on the virus-like particle, please drop me an email. But for today's talk, I won't be talking about my work directly related to my research work. Is that okay, Mr. Person?
Yes, yes, no problem.
Sure. All right. So before I get further into the topic, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our university. And I have actually asked Dr. Ramya for this, and she said it is allowed for me to at least introduce promoting my university for a while. All right. So our university is University Malaysia Terengganu, and it is located at the east coast of Malaysia, at the state of Terengganu, right? And our main campus is actually located at the district of Kuala Nerus, and it is approximately around 218 acres in size. And our university has various off-campus research stations, and that actually includes, for example, Kenyir Research Stations, Pulau Bidong Research Station, and also Cagar Hutang Research Stations. And you can see those in the pictures, I believe. And these are the places whereby our researchers and our students are mostly conducted their work, which is mainly on the marine and also on the aquatic resources studies. And this is actually very in line with our university slogan, which is Ocean of Discoveries for Global Sustainability. And right, this is just to show some information on the academic structure of the university. We have 5 different faculties and 1 center at the university, together with 4 research institutes. And there are combinations of sciences faculties, art faculties, and also a foundation center here. All right, so that should actually wrap up the introduction about the university itself. So now I would like to get back to the real topic for my today's presentation, in which I'll be sharing on the fact, I'll be sharing on the history, and also the latest statistics of the global COVID-19 pandemic itself. Right. So during the past decades, we have been seeing and also we have been challenged with several emerging viral respiratory infections with pandemic potentials. If you still remember, we have been seeing severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, or better known as SARS-CoV. And this particular outbreak was initially emerged from China in the year of 2002. And later in the 2009, we were seeing a different outbreak from a different virus. And that is actually from a set of different virus, which is from influenza virus. And that was emerged originally from Mexico. And that happened in 2009. And more recently, we have been seeing an emergence of another coronavirus outbreak, and that was in Saudi Arabia in the year of 2012. So all in all, if you see here, majority of our pandemic in the whole world are caused by coronavirus, and also another type of virus, which is influenza virus. And on the virology point of view, these viruses are what we call as RNA virus, and RNA viruses are really known to have its huge potential in causing significant problem and also pandemic worldwide. And as the virus that enveloped the world, what I can say is that coronavirus has certainly affected almost all region in the world, right? So that's what we can see from the map here, whereby some parts are really severely affected, while others get lesser in terms of the local cases. And if I can recall the origin of this pandemic, it was first reported in Wuhan, China in the year of last year, December 2019. And hence the name is COVID-19. So 19 is actually reflected to the year that it was first discovered. And later the WHO has declared on the January 30th, 2020, the public health emergence of international concern, and later declared this particular outbreak as a pandemic in March 11. And as of 17th of July 2020, there are more than 13 million cases worldwide, with more than 500,000 deaths, right? And that good news is that there are 7.9, approximately 8 million people naturally recovered from the virus infection itself. Right, so let's talk about the virus. Okay, since I'm a virologist, so I'm very eager to talk about the virus. So the COVID-19 is the name of the disease. However, the virus or the etiologic agent that caused the outbreak is known as severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus V2, or better known as SARS-CoV-2. And as you can see images here, these are the schematic diagram on the or the illustration of the SARS-CoV-2 virion. And if you can see here, as the structure of the virus itself, the virus is enveloped with lipid envelope. So what does that actually means? When a particular virus are wrapped or enveloped with lipid, so that makes them really vulnerable for easy disinfection, meaning to say we can easily eliminate the virus by using soap. And at the same time, we can also eliminate the virus by using certain percentage of alcohol. So due to that reason, we have been seeing a lot of campaign worldwide in which encouraging people to wash their hands with soap. And if they don't have any access to soap and water, they can also sanitize their hand with alcohol. And the reason why is because of the physiological structure of the virus itself. So basically, this particular virus, as I said earlier, is an RNA virus. So RNA virus is really known to cause a lot of problems and outbreak worldwide. And this particular virus is the successor to the previous strain of coronavirus that has caused outbreak in the year of 2002, which is the SARS virus. Right. When it comes to the mode of transmission, it is believed that the virus has a zoonotic origins, meaning to say it is started from animals and has very close genetic similarity to bat coronaviruses. That's why I believe you have heard from news, it was saying that the virus was first originated from bats. But at the same time, there are also evidence coming to say that there are intermediate reservoir or an intermediate host that is transferring the virus from its natural host, which is the bats, to human, right? So basically the intermediate host can be many, and it has been speculated that the intermediate hosts for this particular virus are pangolin or even snakes prior to introduction to human. So the transmission from animal to human is via zoonotic transmission. And however, once the virus has been infecting human, it can be easily spread among human to human, and that is due to many route or methods. For example, directly through direct community contact, whereby when we have mass gathering or when we have schoolings, or even when we have religious gathering, for example. And at the same time, the virus can also get transmitted when people are hospitalized, and that is very unfortunate cases. And that is what we call as nosocomial transmission, whereby people start to get infection when they are at the hospital getting for a different treatments. Okay. And the virus is now known to be transmitted when people are very when we have a very close contact to one infected person. And at the same time, it can also be transmitted through respiratory droplets when people are coughing and sneezing. That's why practicing a good coughing and sneezing etiquette is really important. Right. So allow me to just share this particular graph of the daily new confirmed cases of COVID-19. And this is actually true until yesterday. And by looking at this particular graph, we might be asking many questions, and probably you are also asking questions, for example, like, are we even making a good progress now? Or even, is it even possible to make a good progress now? Right? Because what you can see here, there are certain regions who are making a very good progress, and certain regions who are not so. Okay, so I guess the answer is very clear at this stage, right? So some countries fail in response to the pandemic, and others met the challenge much more successfully. So perhaps what we can say from this particular graph is that we need to know and we need to believe that it is really possible to fight this pandemic. So how can I make this more convincing to you? So I'll try to get you to travel back 100 years ago, when the whole world was struggling with Spanish flu outbreak in the 1918. So the Spanish flu outbreak is one of the most severe pandemic, if we can say, in the recent history. It was caused by a different set of virus. It is not from coronavirus. However, it is from another RNA virus, what we call as influenza virus. And this particular influenza virus has the genes of avian origin. If you remember the recent outbreak of influenza in 2009, that was from the swine origin. So it has some genetic difference between the two outbreak. And it was estimated around 500 million cases of people infected with influenza at that time. That corresponded to almost 1/3 of the whole world populations. And from that statistics, 50 million people died due to the virus infection. And majority of the death or mortality was actually happened in the people younger than 5 years old, young adults around 20 to 40 years old, and unfortunately in the elderly with 65 years old and older. And the rate of high mortality in healthy people, including those in 20 to 40 years old, really makes that particular pandemic is unique. Okay, if you see the comparison to today's statistic to the previous influenza pandemic statistic, there are a vast difference between the age of the most vulnerable people who are infected with the virus, in which for COVID-19, in majority kills people with older age and people with pre-existing medical conditions. For example, people who are having asthma or having diabetes or even heart disease, right? And so we are quite lucky in that sense, in which the virus behaves differently when it comes to reaction to the immune response. And if I can still bring you to this particular picture over here, it is very scary to see that those messages has been sent out. For example, stay at home and avoid crowded places. That has been delivered 100 years ago. And yet we are still seeing the same pandemic now, even though the same practices still apply until today. And this is even scary to see the same scenario of mass isolation back in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic. And now we are seeing it again in the year 2020, 100 years later, right? So basically, um, for those who are really aware of what happened during the flu pandemic in 1918, there were multiple waves happen during the pandemic itself, and every time the second wave and third wave came in, it came stronger, right? So this actually sends a strong message to everyone here, everyone in the society, that we are not yet winning this battle. We need to remember of not repeating the same history again, right? So talking about the Spanish flu, and now we come back to the outbreak, the ongoing outbreak, which is COVID-19. So what are the lessons that we have learned for today? So as I speak now, we cannot be 100% sure of what worked then might be working now or might not even working now. So that's the thing for sure, right? However, we are seeing similarities from the Spanish flu outbreak to the COVID-19 outbreak. So what are the similarities? The first similarities that we are seeing is we are still evidently not ready in handling pandemic. So unfortunately, we have been seeing a very recent SARS and MERS outbreak, yet we are not prepared for that. And those recent SARS and MERS outbreak have shown that outbreak can just happen again and again, right? So what are the other similarities? Similarities, if you read through history, during the Spanish flu, there are a lot of blame game happen, right? People are still spreading fake news and creating many conspiracy theories about the reason of the how the Spanish flu happened. And if you can recall now, I believe we are seeing the same thing. Yeah, we are still seeing people blaming each other on the who's going to be responsible for this outbreak. People are still creating many conspiracy theories behind this. All right. However, what we can say now is that we really hope that this outbreak will really change on how we people respond to pandemic in the future, because let's not forget one major key similarities between Spanish flu and today, which is the emotional impact, right? 2020, like 100 years ago, will have a huge physiological, psychological effect and also emotional impact to the society. And that is mainly because there are many people who are struggling for money now. There are many people who lost their jobs and even lost their loved ones due to the pandemic. And there are many people who needs to be apart from their family because of the travel ban and etc. So I believe this particular emotional impact and pathological, physiological, and also psychological effect will be further addressed by other experts later on. So just like the Spanish flu, this is a very profound moment, we must say, in history, but we cannot simply let it pass in the history book. That is definitely that we need to remember. And we must remember what we have learned. And we also must remember that we have to even live with this particular disease or COVID just like common cold. And this is proven by a study from UK, which suggests that people who have recovered from COVID-19 may lose their immunity within months and can get be reinfected year after year, just like common cold. Right. So I believe, although we have been seeing statistics, we have been seeing people are struggling with this particular battle, I believe we are not that far from winning. At least in Malaysia, we are seeing a consistent reduction or in trend in the new local cases in Malaysia. For example, from 8th of July, we start to see 0 local cases. That is actually depicted by this egg. Okay, it actually means 0. But although 2 days later, we started to see an increment in the number and later reduction again. But all in all, the consistency of the reduction of the local new cases are seen. So by having this, we believe that by having collective effort, we can win this battle, definitely. Right? So of course, this won't be happening without the dedication, the commitment, resilience, and also sacrifice from every individual, especially the frontliners, okay, which provide the best for the nation in order to battle this outbreak. And also the cooperation and also patience from from everyone that has given throughout this challenging time. And as a conclusion, let us continue to ensure our society to emerge victoriously in this war against this very invisible enemy. With that, I thank you. Get back to you, Mr.
Yes, yes.
Prasan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your insightful presentation. Chairman, Dr. Professor Uttamambure, sir, will comment on each and everyone's presentations at the end. The next expert panelist to take over the session is Dr. Radhika Poti, who is a laboratory operation and safety manager at Oxford Nano Imaging Limited at Oxford, UK. She has also worked as a research associate and lab manager at the University of Reading before joining to Oxford Nano Imaging Limited. She is a PhD scholar from the University of Surrey, UK. Her focus of research is to form a rational platform upon which to develop novel drugs, vaccines, and domestic agents to understand the molecular basis of how young tuberculosis and young boys are able to establish infection and generate disease. During her PhD, she has been awarded various awards such as the Sydney Perry Foundation Scholarship, and before that, she has worked as a research associate at IIT Madras, and she was also a CSIR funded project associate and an exchange scholar at IIT Guwahati, India. So, with a decade of experience in research and management, Radhika ma'am is also highly interested in teaching. She has been working as a teaching assistant throughout her career, mainly on the science and life skill subjects. She is an avid, we can say, reader and thinker who has a lot of interest in astrology and spiritual psychology. So I hand over the session to Dr. Radhika Poti ma'am from Oxford, UK for the next 15 minutes. Okay, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Prashant, for your very detailed introduction. And Dr. Siti, the presentation was very insightful, and thank you for giving us a very detailed information about COVID and what it is and how to travel through this pandemic. So I don't have a presentation, but then I'm just going to talk about my personal and professional experience with this COVID. So I work in a startup company, which is a spin-off of Oxford's physics department. So we specialize in manufacturing microscopes. So when I say microscopes, it's not the common light microscopes or even the advanced electron microscopes, but we have a unique and niche microscope called nano imager, which is very efficient in single molecule fluorescence imaging. So that is what we specialize in. And then, so it is a startup company. So as you know, in a startup, we have a very small number of employees and then a very small budget to run the company. And so I joined this company mainly to get a lot of experience in running the lab and its operations and everything, and to be a part of research as well. So everything was going smoothly in terms of the company. And what happened was like, so the coronavirus has been introduced to UK, I think in January. So the clinicians were started to talking about it. And even in the news, we were talking about what is happening in China. So although people who are here has been getting affected by this, they were not very sure, like not many people were aware of COVID. So while this was going on, during March, the big lockdown came to UK. So Boris is announcing a lockdown, and he's asking people to suddenly start working from home. And companies had no clue. They had to send the employees with a very, very short notice. And we had to come back to home and work from there remotely. And so in the meanwhile, the government is advising on how to prevent ourselves from getting exposed to COVID. As Dr. Siti said, stay at home, wear mask, reduce this contact and everything. And also, the companies on their side, they started thinking about the financial and economical impact, especially in startups like where I work. The budgets are really small. So they had to immediately take a decision on what can be done to prevent a big loss. Because they know that during the period of lockdown, there is not going to be any sales of the microscopes. There's not going to be any profit to the company. And then they had to sit down and put a projection of another 1 year. And then they had to come down with a list of redundancies. So I think by April, the redundancies, the wave of redundancies along with the wave of COVID has been starting to come in. And meanwhile, government was trying to introduce a lot of schemes which can help startup companies and also the big conglomerates, such as they have introduced a furlough scheme. I'm not sure if everybody has heard of furlough scheme, but it is very common in UK now, where employers can give up temporary absence, can make an employee who can go in a temporary absence for a period until October 2020, and their salaries will be paid by the government. At least 80% of their salary will be paid by the government, so that the employers can retain these people's job without firing them. But I think this has helped the companies quite a bit. But by the time when it was June, they had to introduce another list of redundancies where there was massive cuts of jobs in every sector, especially in tourism and hospitality, and everything was shut. And all the pubs, restaurants, everything, which was making the UK's economy a lot. I mean, all the consumer market has gone. So except for online supermarket, grocery shoppings, and then some essential shoppings, everything else was like under lockdown. It was under serious financial risk. So at that time, what government instructs is that any company or any institute who have a research facility should start working on COVID research, should try and contribute their effort into COVID. So as we are a spin-off from Oxford, and Oxford was one of the universities which was mainly working on developing a vaccine. So we were intended to develop a diagnostic assay, which is much more quicker than the current assay to find out COVID. So I'll explain a little bit more about what we were trying to do. So we have decided to start working in COVID. And when we started doing it, we thought the current procedure, the current protocol for testing COVID is to do a PCR. So I think everybody knows a PCR is a polymerase chain reaction where you use a single DNA from the patient sample, any sample, saliva, blood or tissue sample, and then you process that sample, and then you amplify that DNA into a larger amount, and then you run it on a gel, or you actually do a sequencing to find out whether the person is infected with COVID or not. So this process at least takes 3 days. I mean, at least. So if you're collecting massive number of samples, and if you're asking people to work from home, and there is not a lot of key workers in the lab as well, so it is going to take a little more of time. So this is the current protocol, but we were thinking of how to improve this, how to reduce this time of diagnosing this COVID. So we were specialized in a nano imager, in a single molecule fluorescence microscopy. So what we thought is, okay, we should collect the sample like saliva, nasal sample, and then we should be able to immediately, instantly image the sample in the microscope to find out the sequence of the virus particles using fluorescence probes. This is basically the whole idea. And we started working in that project. We spent hours, days, I mean, the whole team was set up to, to introduce this new diagnostic assay to clinicians, and especially to people in airports, train stations, anywhere in a public place where you can instantly get the results and then start them quarantining. So this is a basic idea. And then this started happening in around June, July. And so while the government was introducing a lot of schemes, and they were encouraging the labs to do a lot of research in COVID, and we finally came to a vaccine, which was developed in Oxford. But then I think the human trials, many research scientists has volunteered themselves to do this human trials, but I think this is still on the trial stage and there is no successful result yet. So while this was happening, so this is the professional side of what I've been gone through COVID, and I would like to talk a little more of a personal side so that you know how the journey has been so far. So before lockdown, so I was like, I'm talking about October 2019, where everybody in UK were not aware of this COVID or coronavirus or whatever is happening in China. So we were catching a lot of cold and cough, and everybody thought in UK this is very common. Okay, so you're gonna get a cold, nobody's bothered because it's a flu season, it's a winter season. So what happened was, like, I had cold and cough, and it went for weeks, and then it went for months, and then suddenly people started talking about coronavirus. Still, I was not aware that the new persistent cough or cold can be COVID. So I went to, normally none of us go to a general practitioner if you have a cold or cough. So you know that, oh, within 2 weeks this is gonna go. But then surprisingly, I went to see the GP, and then they said, oh, this is normal. But then they wanted to check if I have a bacterial infection. Then they checked me for a bacterial infection, and they said, no, this is just a virus, it's just gonna go. So take it easy. Then what happens, I went back to work, and then at some point, I couldn't stop coughing. So once I start coughing, I will cough for like 15, 20 minutes continuously, and it is very difficult to take breaths. So I used to take a break, go to the restroom, and then keep coughing. And then when people comes to the restroom, I was so embarrassed to cough. So I used to try and control a lot. And what happens is, like, when I tried to do that, I started crying because I couldn't focus on my work. I was so distracted by this cough, and it was affecting my everyday activities. And then people started noticing that I have new persistent cough, which is going on for a while. And this is not just me. I mean, everybody in the lab. So if one person gets it, and then the other person and the other person, so at least 6 or 7 of them were sick by that time. So again, what happens after, I think when we were having Christmas dinner, I guess, I felt really sick. And then I couldn't go back to work for a while, like a week or so. But it was luckily Christmas holidays, so I didn't bother. Then I went back again. This cough was continuing, and everybody started now noticing, okay, this is not going back, you have to get it checked. Then I go back to the general practitioner. And then I asked her again, so what is this making me cough like this? I never had this. I never had asthma. I never had wheezing. I never had pneumonia. She then asked me to get tested for pneumonia. And then I go for an X-ray and everything comes clear. And they say, I think this is just a simple virus. Just take it easy. Again, I had to take it easy, which is affecting my everyday life, my work, to a point that where my line manager calls and tells me, like, if your health is not okay, please change your work to part-time, and then maybe just take a break, take a sabbatical, so many things. So I started like, what is it? And then comes this lockdown and the whole UK is behind testing for this COVID. And then I come across this antibody testing for COVID. While I was thinking, okay, so maybe is this the coronavirus which I have got? Then what happens? Still I'm coughing. Then the GP again suggests me that, okay, let's put you in a steroid. Nothing is working, so let's put you in a steroid called dexamethasone. She is not telling me that I might have COVID or I might have something else, but she just puts me on dexamethasone for a course. And then 5 days of the course, and I got rid of the cough. And that's the time when Boris is introducing the lockdown, and I stay at home, and my cough is completely gone now. So why I said this kind of a story is like, this started, my personal COVID experience started in October 2019, when I had a miscarriage, which is like, everybody knows like miscarriage, how it affects a woman's health. So what I understood from the whole journey of this COVID and the whole journey of the lockdown and working in a startup is like, you can see me like a healthy person now, but anybody can be vulnerable to this COVID. So when you say, oh, my immunity is great, I'm good. No, women has a lot of problems, which makes them put it in the spotlight and they become vulnerable to this COVID really, really easily. And this dexamethasone has been coming to light very late, like only recently, UK saying WHO has accepted dexamethasone for critically ill patients, but this has been prescribed for me in January. So I think, so first point is like anybody can be vulnerable, and people who you think, okay, the cancer patients, the TB patients, HIV patients, anybody who is under chemo, who has a weakened immune system can get COVID. And I want to give another angle to this is like people like me, women who go through different kind of an experience, health issues in life, they can also be vulnerable to this COVID. And this impacts their daily life, their work life. And work life for women who has a kid is very stressful and this adds to it. So now my company I have got a long journey with this COVID, and the company has also got a long journey. So now we are in the wave of redundancies. I don't know what will happen to me, but the thing is, nature is much, much bigger than us. And I think what we can do is like sail through this pandemic and keep us safe. But as Dr. Siti said, follow all the instructions and keep ourselves safe. And we have to be a little more prepared for pandemics, as she said, like we are not prepared. The Spanish flu, which can tell us like in 1918, we had the same thing, but now we are so advanced in technology and scientific research, but still we are not prepared. And it's a single virus, which keeps mutating itself. So I think I would like to conclude my talk saying, I think I have given some inputs with my professional and personal side of COVID. And I would like to leave the stage for someone else now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing your own journey during lockdown and pandemic COVID-19 crisis. So now I welcome the most renowned Sri Lankan bilingual novelist, poet, and blogger of acclaimed repute, Daya sir. His work spans a critical study of King Ashoka, 9 novels in English, 6 novels in Sinhala, and a collection of poems, numerous articles in newspapers, journals, and magazines. He is the author of the first e-novel in Asia, the Sadhu Testament, which was published in 1998, and the first e-novel in Sinhala in 2003. His first non-fiction work is Who is Ashoka? He is the only Sri Lankan writer to receive the Sri Lankan State Literary Award for the best English novel thrice, and was awarded the ARC award, literary award in 2013. Being the first Sri Lankan uh, to release his work online and for free access, he is often seen as one of the Sri Lanka's earliest and most vocal advocates for the e-book format, Coffee Left, and Creative Commons. He had received the State Literary Award for the Best English Novel for his debut novel, Kat Bita, in 1998. In 2007, he received the award once again for uh, another novel, and in 2003 to 13 too. In 2006, he shared the Swarna uh, Push, Pustaka Award with five others. And in 2013, he has also won the same for the Best uh, Novel Award with four others in the Sri Lankan community. And in the so uh, he is a person of highly admirable and bilingual novelist, poet, blogger. So I request Daya sir to take over the session for the next 15 minutes. Over to you, Daya sir.
Thank you, Professor Prasad.
Thank you, sir.
And hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes. I'm neither a professional in any field, nor am I an academic. I'm just a writer and sometime poet. So may I begin with a short poem about corona virus, which I wrote about 3 months ago. I called it SARS-CoV-2.
Okay.
Why are you blaming me for your pandemic? I too have a right to life. I did not jump or fly from one body to another. I was happy to live my short life in one place. But you passed me on to your family, then your neighbors. You did not stop with that. You wanted to share me with your own kind, in your city, your district, across the borders, across the seas. Why are you blaming me after taking me all over the world? Why are you blaming me because you have become weak, lost your immunity, ignored health warnings, thought only about yourself? Why are you blaming me for your death wish to commit mass suicide, for your insatiable greed for wealth and power? I too have a right to life, to live where I like, same as you. That's my poem. And why do we think we are superior to the SARS-CoV-2? We are like the virus, parasites living on the crust of the earth, ticks on the skin of a dog. When the dog dies of tick fever, the ticks can jump off to another dog, like the virus. But when we destroy the earth, we don't have anywhere else to jump to. I have a problem expressing my thoughts in an alien language like English. The English language confused us and confused them too. We began to use their terms religion for our traditional philosophies and practices and accepted the terms Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism as our labels, which were forced down on us by Max Weber. like they use the term communism, just another ism. We should use Hindu Dhamma, Jain Dhamma, Buddha Dhamma, and extend it to Christu Dhamma and Islam Dhamma in South Asia. And when we use the term spirituality, I would rather use Adhyatmikatava. And talking about COVID-19, I would use Adhyatmika Dukkha. We consider ourselves as one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. All life on earth is covered when we say Sabbe Satta. We used to love all life, to show metta or loving kindness. We show compassion in our actions, in consumption, in sharing, in giving. We have empathy towards all, not just false sympathy. We show equanimity. Together, these qualities are called Brahmavihara. A mother's love is the best example. That is why in our villages, we still call mother as the Buddha at home. Had we practiced Brahmavihara from around January 2020, perhaps COVID-19 would not have become a pandemic or even an epidemic. Most of us around the world, really panicked. We thought only about ourselves, our immediate families, our wealth, our power, our jobs. We did not think of others, even for a moment. One example is Sri Lanka. We are a small island with just one airport. We could have quarantined the entire island of just 21 million people by shutting down the airport immediately. Even after we shut it down, we allowed our migrant workers in Italy and South Korea to come in. Because of their selfishness and disregarding health precautions, we still find infected people. We did not get COVID from China, but from Italy. And we had to go into lockdown, close our schools and universities. We have contained it at present, but we do not know what will happen next month, where we plan to hold the island-wide parliamentary elections. In India, the panic left thousands of families stranded without any income, food, or shelter. They became refugees in their own country. Many of them could still be starving, dying of hunger or other diseases. If we contemplate on Adhyatmika Dukkha, we can really learn and relearn humility. We should be able to come down from our anthropocentric throne. We would realize how powerless we are against the powers of nature or of the Almighty God. We have tried to defy nature or God ever since we became bipeds. We used our forelegs always for destruction in the guise of development. We used fire to burn down everything, including great libraries. We used iron to make swords. We used the wheel to build armored vehicles. We used nuclear energy to build bombs. We used our knowledge of biology to make biological weapons. That is why we panicked when we thought the virus had escaped from a lab in Wuhan. Now, unfortunately, we are in a rat race to develop a vaccine against COVID-19. For a pandemic which has killed over 5 lakhs of patients, and there have been over 13 million confirmed cases around the world. Even though we have a World Health Organization and even a United Nations, we are yet to see a combined effort to develop a vaccine or a cure. It's not even the governments, but private companies who are in the rat race, each working separately and individually, in complete secrecy, probably duplicating the same research, same tests, same trials, because their motives are utterly selfish. Each one wants to be the first to patent their product, and earn billions or trillions in the next few years. Looking at the situation today, spiritually or adhyatmika dukkha, is the vaccine or a cure for COVID-19 really our utmost priority? Alcohol causes 3 million deaths per year and tobacco over 7 million. Why are we not panicking about these 10 million human lives, which could be easily saved? We try to impose healthcare guidelines to prevent the spread of COVID-19. If we had taken even half such measures against dengue, against malaria, against other such major killers, how much dukkha we could have avoided. And I will not talk about lifestyle diseases or about AIDS because they are all up to the individuals. But there's a lot we can learn from the epidemic and from the pandemic. There is so much we can learn, but we will probably not learn anything. Throughout history, man has never learned anything from history, from the mistakes we have made over the past 2,000 or 3,000 years. This webinar is the first example. I have been proposing the concept of online conferences for more than 10 years, highlighting the advantages, the saving of time and money in travel, lodgings, etc., and the opportunity for more people to attend and to continue the discussions in cyberspace as we could do even with this webinar. I have been promoting ebooks for the past 22 years, which would enable sharing our creative and academic writings with the entire world, which we are doing now during the lockdown. We are using more ebooks, e-journals, and sharing our knowledge through the cyberspace. We should share and share alike. In the first e-novel from Asia, I talked about telemedicine in 1998, about cloning in 2007 as a means of relieving womankind from the burden of childbearing and creating an asexual creature, which could bring to an end the rapidly increasing sexual harassment and sexual violence. In 2012, I wrote about using phones instead of cars, but it took 8 more years and a pandemic to force people to use phones and computers to handle most of their business, education, medical diagnosis, and even political campaigns, avoiding unnecessary travel. We also got used to manage with less food, less clothes, less alcohol and tobacco. What I call compassionate consumption. So there is a little more for the less fortunate. We even used less medicine. Either people all over the world had become more healthy or they had been seeking medical treatment for imaginary ailments or minor ailments, which would not have needed complicated diagnosis or drugs. Or the fear of COVID stopped them from going to hospitals. The air quality we breathe has improved. From Colombo, we could once again see the Adams Peak in the mornings. The water in the rivers became less polluted because most industries shut down during COVID. Let us try to maintain this and improve on the quality of air and water and all other pollution, so we could leave a safer environment for our children. Let's look at continuing to for use our loving kindness to all life on earth, so that we need not just worry about COVID-19, but about all other diseases which could be prevented or which could be cured if we can have a healthy human population around the world not just a few fortunate, wealthy people, but all of us. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you very much, sir, for your thought provoking and spiritual talk. Now, I heartily welcome Dr. Ramaya Chelya, who is an author, critic, editor, and reviewer. Her forte being psychoanalysis and Buddhist literature, Dr. Ramaya has 8 years of teaching experience in the field of English language and literature, and and now she is currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of English of EMG Yadla Women's College, Madurai. Having published more than 100 research papers in peer-reviewed national and international journals, Dr. Ramaya has got 5 books in her credit, and she is a reviewer and distinguished member of the editorial board of various international journals. She is soon to publish her collection of poems and has been invited as a resource person in various national and international conferences and webinars. She introspected her flair uh, while directing a play called She Stoops to Conquer, written by Oliver Goldsmith. And being a young research guide, she has guided 3 MPhil scholars and currently guiding more than 4 PhD scholars. So, may I invite Dr. Ramaya, ma'am, to deliver her talk. Over to you, Dr. Ramaya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. So, very pleasant afternoon wishes to one and all present here. I would like to start my talk by thanking Dr. Siti, Dr. Radhika, and Dayasa for giving me a very fantastic lead to carry on my speech. That was really fabulous that you have given the actual facts about what COVID has done to the world and your personal experience. And Dayasa has given a spiritual connotation towards facing this COVID. So I would like to start off my presentation by quoting the words of the enlightened soul, the Buddha. So he says, I have seen deeply, I have understood deeply that nothing can itself be alone, but everything has to be interbe. So I'm so happy and privileged and honored to be sharing this virtual stage along with renowned academicians like the panels, two successful panelists. So this is a very rare platform where science and humanities together, we are sitting and talking over a single issue. So this blend, this interconnectedness, this interbeing. So I appreciate that, and thank you so much, Langley, for providing this opportunity. And the first thing that I wanted to feel and express is that right now, all of us know what's happening around the world, and the world is healing. It's getting healed slowly. So the ozone is getting healed, the great Ganges is getting healed, and everything else is getting healed. Because the home done eats that we are having now, the homemade food that we are having now, it is just shunning away the toxins that we have been ingesting all these years. And we have been ingesting so many sensory food into our mind in the name of movies and social media, and so many things that enters into our mind, our brain. It is just feeding our sensory elements of our body. Equally, what the edible food does to your body, sensory foods also does to your mind. And we have been very busy in our social media. We have been very busy watching movies, and the entire world of movie industry, that is Hollywood, Bollywood, Mollywood, Tollywood, everybody was working and making money, and all of us are resting. All of us are resting, and they are just, now we are just picking out what we have to look at, what we have to see, what we have to listen to, what we have to eat. and we are just healing from within and around. We have started to heal. So our souls right now is just filling itself with the passion of living the real life. And we were just living the life of make-believe all these years. So I personally feel that we just have to forgive everything right now at this moment. I feel this talk I'm not seeing as one of the sessions that would add up to my credentials in my resume. I just feel this talk, this session, as a moment for each and every one of us listening to it, all the professors, academicians, school student friends, and my dear family and friends, whoever is watching. Let us take this as a moment of forgiveness, as a moment of forgiveness, that we would forgive the world that was before, that was hurting us allegorically and acutely. And let us forgive ourselves for making the world such a terrible place to live in. And let us forgive every inch and millimeter and nanometer of the thoughts that was hurting us and that was hurting others in turn. And let us forgive everything, and start all over again, just like a school kid, just like a kindergartner, just like a newborn infant, baby, like an amateur, into the world of kindness, into the world of understanding of what life is all about, actually. Because in ancient times, we had only two education. Either it would be medicine or philosophy. I'm talking about BCs. So that education taught us only to live a happy life, how to live a harmonious life and healthy life, mentally, emotionally, physically, and how we are able to create a harmonious life, peaceful life. That was the education we had centuries back, eons back. But later civilizations and we people, we wanted to do so many things. We wanted to explore so many things. There were so many needs and demands and desires, wishes that we wanted to fulfill. And right now we are in this world, which is a terrible place right now to live in. So I would like to start off with a small story. So I already told you that this session, I don't see it as a session, an official session to add up my resume's credentials. I see this particular seminar as a transformation of my learning. I feel so privileged. I feel so honored. I will be very glad if at least one person who's listening to me, they're able to transform their self, not the entire self, at least the piece of their self after the speech gets over. I would be really glad. So you can ask any personal doubts or professional doubts regarding psychology or spirituality and just drop me an email. And I would like to start by telling a small story that is said by Zen circles. So this is a story about a horse and a man. So there was a horse and a man. The horse was galloping very quickly. So he was just, it was galloping so quickly with all its might and will. And the man was so serious and he was so stunning, and he was just so interested in galloping horse, sitting on that. And he was traveling to something very important in his life. And it was going on and on and on. And then there was one man alongside the path. He was just stopping the man and he was just asking, "Where are you going? Hey man, where are you going?" And the man asked, "I don't know, ask the horse." And he keeps running. So how is it? This is how we are right now. So the man is us, the entire human being, the entire set of human life that the man represents. He's the symbolic representation. And the horse is the symbolic representation of our habit energies, our emotions, our desires, our needs, and our demands about life, what life is all about. So we keep doing things that we do not want to do. We regret it. We vow that we're not going to do it again, but we keep doing it again. Because of that, we cause a lot of damage to ourselves and a lot of damage to others. But still, we keep doing it. So why is that so? It's because of that habit energies that is running within us, and we're not able to stop it. We are powerless. We are helpless. So that is the condition right now. So I wanted to tell a concept, a psychological concept. Have you ever thought why we are graduating, why we are schooling, and why we are picking up the perfect job, why we are dreaming about the perfect college, why do we have the dreams about finding out the perfect partner, and why we are living this life? Have you ever thought what's happening in the life? Why am I doing it? Have you ever felt that question in your mind? So here is an answer for you. So I would like to Can you see the slides?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this is the actual need satisfaction theory that was coined by Maslow. So this was coined just before 40 to 50 years time, and eons back in BCs, we had philosophers talking about what actual life is all about. That is the transcendental place. So Maslow he categorized every person's life as just need fulfillment. Everyone at one point of time, they need something and they feel happy when that need is fulfilled, that desire is fulfilled, and they feel sad and suffer when this need is not fulfilled. So you can introspect in which need you are in, and the entire world can introspect in which need they are in, and why the reason we can find out the reason why we are not able to reach that one point, that transcendental point. So this is given in the form of pyramid, just to give a symbolic representation that that top need, that is transcendental need, there is very limited number of human beings reaching. That is the purpose of life, the meaning of life that any human being would like to know, would like to live on this planet. And unfortunately, we have very less number of transcendental people around the world. Though we have millions of people, everyone gets stuck in that basic physiological safety and love needs. Only a few millions of people, a few lakhs of people, I would say, would reach that esteem needs and self-actualization needs and transcendental needs. And they would be able to teach people, preach people, and show the way of how to live an actual life and how to find out the meaning of life. So the basic need is the physiological need. So any person, they need food, air, water, safety, security, the place to sleep. All these comes under physiological and safety needs. Once all these needs are satisfied, the person longs to have love needs, that is friendship, intimacy, trust, love, acceptance, that affiliation that we have towards each other, friends, family, and workplace, that understanding and being an important part of the group. That is what everybody will look at once your physiological needs are satisfied. So as we have so many students logging in, so I would like to give a very simple example. You would have watched movies. So in that movies, you could have seen that many of the um, uh, mm, heroes of very limited means, they do not want to fall in love where the girl is from a very wealthy background. And this is very normal because when there is no physical needs are satisfied, that person will not be looking into the love needs. So love needs, when you say love needs, it's not just the need of the love between the people of opposite sex, but love of one's own self. That is, if you have love towards doing something and you be passionate about doing something, you have all your energy putting into that one activity. Excuse me. So if you have a passion towards guitar, playing guitar, towards music or towards dance, that satisfies your love needs even. So it doesn't mean that we can satisfy our love needs only by choosing a person, your life partner or soulmate. And the so-called the purpose of life is to, that is what the movies and the novels and everything displays. So that is not the thing. So that is why that needs is given in red color, that is in danger zone. This is where most of the people get stuck. So because people will be very busy finding out their soulmates, finding out that person, perfect partner, and they find very limited time spending on their own talents and their own needs and the needs of their family members, the needs of their own intellect and their own mind and their own creativity, their own potential. So that is unmet. That is the reason why once people are getting married, they find so many problems when they are not able to meet that esteem needs, that is social needs. What do you mean by esteem needs? This is the need where people will be looking for respect from the society, and the self-esteem develops here. So you need to respect yourself. You need to feel dignified about yourself. And that need arises when the love needs get satisfied. And you a, a human being, any man or woman, he or she wanted to be respected by the society. They want to be dignified. They want to be in the dignified state. And once that needs are satisfied, the next stage would be the cognitive needs. What is cognitive needs? The need for expertising in a field, the need for understanding about what they are specialized in much more better, the need for learning more, the need for exploration about what they actually know. For example, you are getting into a job and yeah, your esteem needs are satisfied. Okay, you have a good job, everything is fine. You won't be settled there. Next stage will be you want to be the best employee. You want to be the CEO of that company. You want to be the best coding manager. You want to be the best technician in that particular field. That need starts creating inside your mind. And once that needs are satisfied, you get into your own self. That is, self need starts from here. And the human being who have met their cognitive needs, he looks at things so beautifully. He looks at things around the world, the beauty around the world, the balance around the world. He would appreciate and search for beauty everywhere he sees. See, even there is suffering, even we have the entire pandemic suffering, and there are these category of people, the aesthetic people, the self-actualized people, the transcendental people. They wouldn't see the negative aspect of it. They would see the beauty of it. They would see the perfect form of it. They would see the essence of it, how they can live the life amongst this pandemic without hurting themselves and without hurting their family members and without hurting anybody around them. So that needs happens when your cognitive needs are satisfied. And once your cognitive aesthetic needs are satisfied, then that longing for becoming that person, actually who you are, that emerges. So you want to achieve that perfect potential. You want to seek that personal growth and experience, peak experiences about your own self. You want to be the top of that world. That feeling arouses inside your mind. And once that feeling is also satisfied, the next thing is that we wanted to serve the world. We wanted to pursue science and religion. We wanted to have aesthetic experience about the meaning of life. We want to be alive. We want to be there for people who are in need. We want to feel like we want to fulfill the needs of others. That stage comes when you are transcendental. So that is why Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, in their foundation, they are just giving 95% of their earnings to charity. Would we do that? So we are earning 1 lakh rupees, or can we give 95,000 rupees to charity? They are doing it only because they have reached all these needs and they have brought that transcendental needs. So how beautiful it would have been if each and every person has become a transcendental person, the world would have been a very beautiful and a peaceful place by now. But unfortunately, we are stuck here. So I wanted to bring in this blend of Western psychology with Eastern spirituality to connect mind, body, and soul, and how life revolves around even in this pandemic, how you could do it better, how you cannot succumb towards this pandemic, COVID 19, and you can lead a life positively. How does it happen? So, as I'm just talking to people who are academicians, who are very comfortable sitting before their laptops, who are getting paid, the student community, who are very comfortable inside their homes. So, this is, if it is some other people, the talk would be of a different version. But I wanted to introspect yourself, everybody right now, if you are suffering. Right now, you can think about yourself. If you are suffering, you have to know how you suffered, why you suffered, what makes you suffer, and what is the point that you can get you out of your suffering. How does that happen? So it can happen by following the Four Noble Truths. This is the cream of Buddha's teaching. So we all of us have this radio station running in our mind all the time. We thoughts and emotions rush in our mind. We are home, we are locked up in our home, but still we are very busy inside our mind. So we have so many chaotic, noisy emotions inside our mind. So we have this radio station, universal radio station running in our minds for all of us. What is that? Called non-stop thinking. So that is what we do, overthinking. So when we overthink, what do? We create problems that doesn't even exist. So that is the one that we have to concentrate right now. So silencing, that is mindfulness and silencing. Mindfulness is nothing but paying close attention to your own thoughts, paying close attention to what you feel, paying close attention to how you feel, what is actually running in your mind, picking up that one negative thought and putting it outside, right from your core of your inner psyche. That is called as mindfulness. That happens only when we are silencing ourselves. What do you mean by silencing ourselves? It doesn't mean that stopping of chatter, stopping to talk, or it doesn't mean that absence of words. Silence means quietening the noise within yourself, quietening the noise inside you, the chatterbox inside you. So in order to silence ourselves, we just have to be very alive, and we have to be interconnected to every living being, every being around us and within us. So we have a being within us. Our soul is residing within us, and a being is there within us, and we should be able to connect within ourselves and with the society. How does it happen? That Robin Sharma, I would like to quote, most people die at 20 and buried at 80. So are we dead or are we alive? We just have to introspect. How do we do that? So by analyzing Four Noble Truths. So the first noble truth is dukkha, that is suffering. Suffering is universal. Every living being suffers. Everybody suffers, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their position, prestige, status, their education. Everybody now suffers. And that is the first noble truth. We cannot feel that, why me? So why is it happening only to me? That question is not there. So everybody suffers at some point of time, and that is the first noble truth. And the second noble truth is samudaya, which means the origin of suffering. If there is suffering, there is a root cause of suffering. There is an origin of suffering. We can know where it came from. We can analyze where it came from. That is called as origin of suffering. And once we have found out the root cause of the suffering, and we would be able to stop it by refraining ourselves from doing things that make us suffer. Stopping ourselves from doing things that make us suffer. And how do we do that? By following the eightfold path. That is right view, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right diligence, and right mindfulness and right concentration. So to make it more clear, I would like to, as we have so many students here participating, so we are in a lockdown, and do we really have that happiness and harmony inside our families? If there is chaos and confusion, maybe your mother is stressed out, your mother-in-law is stressed out because she is doing all the works, household chores, and she's yelling at you, and you suffer and she suffers, and you feel that there is suffering. And what do we have to do? We have to look back to the origin of suffering. Why is that suffering happen? Because she is the only person working there, and you're not doing anything. You are over your phone call for 2 hours or 3 hours. You are watching your favorite show for 2 hours or 3 hours, maybe because of that. So you found out the origin of the suffering that happened inside your home. So now we have to stop ourselves from doing that makes us suffer. And how do we do that? By speaking right, by thinking right. We can have that insightful thought. Okay, this is where we are going to help each other. This is where we are going to bring peace and harmony and tranquility and serenity to each other. So we are going to work on it. What are we going to do? What is the other person needing? What do I need? So what do I do for it? We think and introspect, and we put on right diligence, which is right efforts, and bring out a right livelihood around us with the proper right concentration, and we would be away from our suffering.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'll be finishing off in just 5 minutes. So I was just talking about being alive as introspecting oneself as spirituality. And psychology is about knowing about other people, and spirituality is about knowing about your own selves. So when we are following all these four noble truths, practicing mindfulness, silencing our minds, silencing our chatterbox, and looking deeply into ourselves, we get spiritual. And it doesn't mean that you just have to wear a white robe or orange robe, go to the mountains. We can still be spiritual right there when you're doing your dishes, when you're cooking, when you are preparing for your webinar, for whatever it is, whatever work you're doing, you can do it. You can do it mindfully and by silencing all the other chaotic and noisy thoughts around you. So that means that right there you are a spiritual person. And if we are understanding ourselves and we are understanding our own emotions, and we are picking up what thoughts we are going to think, because thoughts are not just thoughts, they are living energy bundles. So they do so much things to our body and mind. And what do they do? I just picked up a few hormones, that is happy hormones, the motivated hormones that is released from the brain, the chemicals that release from the brain that creates these hormones. The first hormones would be dopamine, that is motivation hormone. So this hormone generates in your brain when someone motivates you, someone gives you a pat, someone appreciates you. And that is the reason why students get motivated. Students do better when they are motivated better. So, and I was just looking at the social media, what is trending right now on the social media. And I found this interesting course, online course, dopamine and activation course, free online. So the world is towards online courses right now, and everybody into well-being, health, and fitness. There is a whole range of alertness and aliveness about our body and mind. Everybody wanted to learn about meditation. Everybody uh, talks about meditation and the yogic system and the Ayurveda and the right way of cooking and the right way of ingesting the nutrition into your body and your mind. Everybody is talking about that in order to fight against COVID. So this dopamine, it just takes away the depression, takes away the mood swings, and it just increases the attention of cognition. What do you mean by cognition? It is just the learning ability, knowledge ability, knowledge inquiring ability. That is cognition, and dopamine increases that when someone motivates and appreciates. So this, uh, with this idea, we can just have that spirituality, that if someone around us or within ourselves, if we are feeling demotivated, we can ourselves develop our dopamine just by watching our own thoughts and emotions. This is not got by, this cannot be secreted by any um, foods, edible foods that we eat. This can be secreted only by the achievements of minor and major goals. And we set a minimum goal to make ourselves happy and others happy around us, and we will be able to create this dopamine automatically. And there is one more hormone called serotonin. This is happiness hormone. This is responsible for digestion. This is responsible for motor activity. So that is the reason why we jump and we move around. We have that motor activity when we're very happy. And that is the reason why when we're very sad, we are not able to get out of the place. We wanted to succumb like a couch potato, and we do not want to get away. And when we are not having perfect levels of serotonin, it leads to depression, then lack of life activities, anxiety disorders, appetite control. There's so many problem arises with the body when our emotions are not secreting this serotonin from the brain.
We need to conclude,
And,
ma'am.
we create so much of stress, and that affects our soul within, our psychology within, the spirituality within. And oxytocin is a bonding hormone. What is a bonding hormone? So when we hug our loved ones, when we are giving so much of attention towards our loved ones, oxytocin is secreted. And
Dr. Ramaya, sorry
this,
for the interruption.
just 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, yes.
And being close to your own family members, friends, and loved ones, it creates this sufficient amount of oxytocin, and we would be able to have a perfect balance of mind and body with proper levels of secretion of oxytocin. So, so what do we get from all these? So we are right now hurt. The entire world is hurt. Individually, we are hurt. As a family, we are hurt. As nations, we are hurt. So what we have to do right now is we just have to learn. We just have to learn what is within us. And we just have to calm, rest, stop, calm, rest, and heal. Stopping is silencing. Calming is paying close attention to your own thoughts and choosing right thoughts to think for yourself, feel good for yourself. And resting is putting that positive thought, just like a pebble gets into the river and gets into the river bed, that thought, positive thoughts should get into your thought bed, and it has to rest. It has to find a position, and that in turn creates healing. So it all happens by learning about your own selves, learning about your own psychology, learning about the psychology of others, spirituality of others. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Happy learning and happy healing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your optimistic and motivational presentation. Now, I'm glad to welcome Dr. Johansson Jiresh, sir, who is an assistant professor of English at Christ Academy Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. He has a PhD in English and has the experience of teaching English language and literature for the last 10 years. In the year 2019, he was certified in teaching of English to speakers of other languages by the Trinity College London. Recently, he completed a short-term course from USA, uh, funded by USA. And as a teacher who believes in the idea that active research complements effective effective teaching. He has presented research papers in several national and international conferences in India, UAE, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia, and has published research articles in the national and international journals. He delivers invited talks and conducts workshops on various fields that include second language acquisition, teaching and testing of speaking skills, literary reading, literary theories, cultural studies, and critical, we can say, thinking. Thank you very much, sir, for joining with us. And now the session is yours. Over to Dr. Jiresh, sir. Kindly unmute yourself, sir, and then speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Prashant, for the nice words on me, introducing me to this gathering. Pleasant greetings to all the scholarly audience
You have
present.
next 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes in
Yeah,
your hand. So,
yeah. Thank you. Pleasant greetings to all the scholarly audience present in this webinar. I'm here to talk about the impact of the pandemic on education. When we even think of its impact, we would certainly think of the shift of the classroom from a real to a virtual space. Yes, I'm talking about the education which is in line for an online future. And we heard Mr. Dasa, the eminent writer from Sri Lanka, talking about the advantages of shifting towards an e-learning platform. I'm here to talk about its impact and the challenges which the teaching community should encounter in the coming years to make it more viable for the learning community. Uh, Online learning was already a foil to the mainstream learning. COVID pandemic has forced us to accept it as the mainstream learning platform. It has only made the transition faster, uh, not in the future, but even in the present. 3 or 4 months back, an online classroom was something which is confined to the online learning platforms found in the internet, not in the mainstream education. And we had considering that most of the participants here are Indian nationals, I also presume that the challenges which we discuss will also pertain to the needs of other nations as well. We had a
no, sir,
strong,
we have the participants from Sri Lanka, Palestine, Malaysia, UK. Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
okay. Um, I understand that the shift was rather quick in terms of our entry towards the online learning platform. We had rigid ideology in terms of accepting mobile phones and laptops within the classroom. The recent student created memes suggest that when we were shunning down mobiles and laptops from the mainstream education, now that the colleges and schools happen within the mobile phones and laptops. However, it makes us to contemplate on maybe the answer is not direct, but then the questions in itself will be an answer for us to continue our pursuit towards making education more productive and also effective. Okay, so before moving on to those questions, let me have a quick look on its advantages. As discussed earlier by one of the speakers, we have the exposure to global knowledge, super abundant reach, that is, number is not limited when it comes to online learning, flexible timing. And I remember availing leaves as a teacher for 1 hour of another work outside the campus. Now that we can conduct those classes, even we are in a different state or a country, without avoiding or postponing the class. And the students can choose what they want. So the shift is from the uh, traditional teacher-centered approach to the learner or learning-centered approach. But then it is germane to discuss the challenges as well. Hence the questions, will the post-COVID-19 academia be dominated by online learning? And can online learning replace mainstream learning? My third question would be, can online learning facilitate holistic development? And number four, my question is, will online learning further commodify an already commercialized education system? So with these four questions, I'll move on to the discussion. I'll try to sum it up in 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, the first question, will the post-COVID-19 academia be dominated by online learning? Of course, the obvious answer is yes. As of now, it is a good supplement of oil, but then the future is near. The future is already here, I would say. We will be moving towards an online learning ambience, which would bring in more number of students, bring in global knowledge to one platform and things of that kind. But the next question is more pertinent, I would say. Can online learning replace mainstream learning? As of now, my personal opinion is that I would say it's no. Why? Then if the answer is no, then we should discuss why. The phrases like digital divide and bandwidth issues, even in the digital age of the digital natives, we find a disparity between the haves and have-nots. The sophisticated use of technology is confined to one group of society, and then there is quite a lot of issues pertaining to bandwidth, and that makes it little difficult to accept that it would replace mainstream learning in the future. Mainstream learning by means, I say, taking up an online degree program. Will it be viable or will it be possible in the future? And can online learning facilitate a holistic development? Here, I would like to talk about social skills. We promote playing in schools or colleges, even from our childhood. Playing is part of the curriculum. Not that all the individual students who play will become Olympians, but then we ensure playing to uh, enhance human interaction. Certain things which can't be learnt from the classroom can be learnt from the playing ground. Things like how to win as a team, how to play as a team, or how to lose and take up responsibility. All these things can be learned from a playground, and that makes us contemplate on the idea that online learning will it facilitate a holistic development by giving us an conducive ambience to practice the social skills. Already in a world which is dominated by hatred, disparity, and bigotry, this isolated learning may develop further, foster that kind of hatred and discrimination among people because of the lack of human face-to-face interaction. And online learning needs a lot of self-discipline, because mostly even teachers and scholarly community, we enroll quite a lot of courses in different platforms, and how far we are successful in completing it is a question, because it needs self discipline. More often than not, we work because of extrinsic motivation, and also by the monitor system which is around us. And again, teaching in the online mode is confined only to the syllabi. That's why most of the students also feel that online classes are boring, rather comparing with the real-time classes that they had. That can be because of the lack of exposure from the part of the teachers as well. And more importantly, credibility of evaluation and assessment, which is a real serious problem even in the conventional classrooms. And to assess and evaluate the student process through online learning has to be revisited and understood. And finally, I would talk about increase in screen time. We see the average page time has gone down and the screen time has gone up over the years among teenagers, as they are called screenagers now. This has an indirect effect on health and psychological aspects as well. So these things has to be taken into consideration. So considering the lack of social skills in an online classroom, lack of need for more discipline in completing courses, teaching confined only to syllabi, credibility of evaluation and assessment, I feel we have to go a long way to make online learning more viable and holistic. So my last question to contemplate is, will online learning further commodify an already commercialized education system? So this is the most important question, I would say. We all would have heard about flipped classroom, a very effective tool that is used to literally flip what is happening in the class and the home, so that the students do homework at class and do classwork at home. They listen to lectures at home and they apply their learning in the class. And the idea of flipped classroom has opened doors to online education to a very large extent, that we can't limit the number of student intake. If at all there is a college in a city, it can maximum hold up to 5,000 or 10,000 students. But if it is an online course, you can't limit the number, and nobody cares if whether you complete the course or not. So this is slightly moving towards quantity from the understanding of what quality is. We are moving towards numbers. I would say this is a danger. And if you ask me, how is that it is commodified? How is online learning commodified? I'll give you an example. The cricket followers would know, especially Indian cricket fans would know, Indian cricket for the past 20 years had different sponsors, starting from ITZ, the Wills or Sahara, Oppo, Star Sports. And recently the sponsor is a learning app named Byju's. And the Indian cricket team jersey these days reads like Byju's India. Um, why I'm making this mention now is that it's apparently a new company where you see quite a lot of other international players are also there. They were able to get the sponsorship deal for 1068 crore Indian rupees, 1068 crore Indian rupees, which is a large amount for the next 5 years. And an online learning app, by providing online education and courses, is able to do it. And according to the KPMG and Google survey in India conducted in 2017, online course enrollments in 2016 was 1.6 million, and it amounts to $246 million US dollars in terms of money made during this online courses. And the projected statistics is that 1.6 million users would shoot up to 9.6 million enrollments in 2021, and the revenue, which was 246 million US dollars, would become 1.96 billion US dollars in 2021. So certainly it is commercialized. The proof of the pudding is there, because it makes quite a lot of money. And I see an issue that I've already discussed in a few other platforms as well. Whenever higher education institutions fail, business firms capitalize on it, especially in third world or developing nations. Higher education institutions are made to give a holistic development. When private institutions get into teaching, especially certain skills like English language speaking, soft skills, computing skills, competitive exam coaching. And sad to see that mainstream institutions also outsource such services to business firms. And I would like to raise a question here. Why should students pay extra? They are already paying for their mainstream education, and if at all they need to acquire such job skills, why are they made to pay extra to these business firms to acquire such skills? And higher education institutions acting in tandem with such business firms is a sad reality. So my view is that higher education institutions which provides degree must take up online education seriously because it is the future and address to the challenges which we have discussed earlier, and facilitate online learning, or else online education will be another industry that will make money without any significant impact on the holistic learning process. I repeat, if the higher education institutions do not take up online education seriously by addressing the challenges which we have discussed, it will lead to the popularity of business firms. That will be another industry which will make money without any significant impact on the holistic learning process.
Jiresh sir, we need to conclude now.
Yeah, 2 minutes. So the last part I included just this morning. So I wanted to talk, why is it so pertinent? Because we talk about commercialization of education at different spheres. And last night, Dasa sir also enlightened me, saying that was never an Eastern idea to commercialize education. Uh, I would like to conclude with a statement on the need for an ethical approach. We see quite a lot of webinars to enhance academic quality. Each one of us would have attended at least 20 to 30 webinars in the past 3 to 4 months. I don't think none has addressed the issue pertaining to basic integrity. Yes, we speak about publication ethics, but we conveniently tend to evade talking about ethics related to corruption in education. Maybe we are afraid, or rather we evade conveniently to talk about such scams involved in competitive exams, or money involved in appointment of teachers, or nepotism, or whatever related to it. We have accepted it as the order of the day to pay illegal money to find jobs. By doing so, we are removing the underprivileged out of the equation. I'm not able to fathom the idea behind accepting it as a new normal. Unfortunately, honesty has become a breaking news. How can we oblige our students to work towards excellence? If a student asks us at the end of the day, even you are here after paying a large sum of money for your work, and why do you want me to excel by working hard? So this question would make us think, I believe, uh, because I would say those or part of the system thinking that getting bribe or getting corrupted is something which is wrong, and those who give are victims of the system. The victims, they are instilled with the fear of future that makes them corrupt, and also they lose the moral ground to talk about ethical ethical uh, uh, excellence in the classroom context. Hence, the corrupt individuals lose a moral ground. That is why we don't find a discussion on the need for ethical excellence in academics. People may think, what change can we bring at this point in time where corruption is found everywhere? I would say now we have come to a level that we have accepted such practices as right. So it is important that we at least start talking that it is wrong. At least we should include that in the discourse level before aiming at quality, because this would rather damage quality in the long run, nepotism or corruption at the academic scenario. So the point is, education that is commercialized is surely compromised in terms of quality. So far, in this discussion, we have been talking about physiological and spiritual well-being. All that is important only to contribute to society. Therefore, I would say during this period of hibernation, let us rethink, revisit, and go back to the basics to refocus our vision towards ethical excellence, especially in terms of making online education viable. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your ethical and fruitful talk. Before we move to concluding remarks, there are certain instructions for the participants. We have already posted feedback form link in the webinar room as well as on the YouTube channel chat box. So kindly fill the feedback form, and the certificates, you will receive the certificates in the forthcoming days. Well, as we are running out of time, so I will take only one feedback response from the participants. We have with us Parin Somani ma'am. She will from UK. She will give us a feedback within 2 minutes, and then followed by chairman's remark. Are you there, Dr. Parin Somani ma'am? Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I would like to congratulate Dr. Ambori and all the speakers and all the organizers, Dr. Prashant Mothe, by bringing the excellent speakers to share their knowledge and experience to support the society in these unprecedented times. Brilliant conference. Keep the good work going. And thank you for inviting me to share my thoughts, and amazing conference. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
quickly feedback
Yeah,
and words
same
of
here.
appreciation.
The reason I didn't want to take much time, I know you guys
Yeah,
are
yeah,
running late, and I don't want to
Yes.
Thank
Very
I'm
good to
waiting
see you.
for I'm waiting for Dr. Amburi to hear now.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I am honored to welcome Dr. Uttam Ambure sir, member
Yes.
of Academic Council, member of Research and Recognition Committee, Chairman, Board of Studies, Head, Department of English of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad, to give his chairman's remark. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The coordinator of this international panel discussion, my friend Dr. Prashant Mothe. The eminent panelists in this discussion, Dr. Daya Dasanaike from Sri Lanka, Siti Noor Khadija from Malaysia, Radhika Poti from Oxford, UK, then Johosan Jiresh, Bengaluru, and Ramaya Chelaya Ravikumar from Madurai. Dear friends, I have heard almost 5 speakers and 1 anchor, and now I have to put my remark before you. But before beginning my remark, let me know to you that I am sitting in the corner of Aurangabad, which is at the bank of Ajanta and Ellora caves, and I'm working Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad, and I'm very happy to see the faces from across the globe, from like Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and then many people. As Prashant has said, that almost 1,000 people have entered for this panel discussion. So it's a good sign that we are discussing the things. While talking about the comments made by the panelists, I must say that this is a very multidisciplinary kind of discussion that we had. We have discussed not only from the literature side, but from the medical science, then physical science, psychology, education, and so many cross we have got from this discussion. Let me begin with Dr. Daya, because he, being a creative writer, novelist, and a very good historian, he has put one very, one can say, remarkable kind of point that we are a part of evolution. As we have every right to live on this earth, the viruses do have their own right. They can also live on the earth. So it depends on how you accommodate with this kind of situation. Now, as you know, many scientists have said that it is a matter of adaptability now. Now, no one is sure about whether this pandemic will go or it will finish. Most of them are uncertain about this. You know that when the Spanish flu came in the century back, it remained almost for 2 years, and many people took care how to survive in this kind of situation at that time. Nowadays, as it has spread all over the world, and people are thinking not on their only personal level, but on the community level, social level, global level, and how to have remedies for this. Recently, I came to know from Dr. Patil, who is living in UK now. He said that almost 130 labs in the world, they are working on to see the vaccination for this kind of disease. And recently a news has came that Russia has succeeded in getting that kind of vaccination. That is the recent news I got. But when we were discussing about the thing at that time, Siti, who is sitting in Malaysia, being a virologist, she has tried to say that how this virus is affecting on all level, not on the physiological level, but on the mental level too, and how a panic situation has come in the mind of the people, and how they are still fighting. She has used a very good word that we are fighting with a unvisioned, or the enemy which cannot be visioned before you, and we are fighting with that. So it's a kind of battle that we have to fight with these kind of virus, and that's why we have to have immunity for that. And that's why when Dr. Dasan was saying that we have to think on the immunity to fight with this kind of virus. So people have to go in that way. And when Dr. Radhika was sharing her experiences, that how she was suffering, just now we have just listened the feedback of Pareen, and let me put it on my record that Pareen is a woman. She's a real fighter. She fought with this corona for twice, and she's surviving. So it is a kind of power. In fact, you see, we can win, we can fight, and we can win. So it depends on our psychology. It depends on the fitness of your mentality, how you think. And that's why when Ramaya was speaking about the Buddhist philosophy at that time, she put one very good remark that the 8 parts of Buddha, in which he has given the right direction how to think, how to view, how to live, how to survive, how to eat, and how to have a mid path that is called as golden path to live in the life. And that is to accept it to survive in a proper way. That's why whatever we have discussed, from our cave situation to this brave situation you see, it's a great span of human life. Human beings have discovered so many things. It was flying in the sky, in the air, with aeroplane, and suddenly it came down on the ground. And now it has started thinking whether we have made some mistake or like that. And that's why all the medical sciences have got challenged. All the educational system has got challenged. All the traditional activities also under challenge. And that's why we have to fight with that. No. And this fighting is not a simple one. That's why man has to think on the inner level, on the psychic level, and to make himself or herself fit to fight with such kind of situation. So many points came, and our young friend Josan Jiresh, he very rightly pointed out that now education has been changed on a thorough level. You see, the habitual system that we had, the face-to-face teaching system we had, now it has to be shifted to from brick to click level. We have to go to that level also, and we have to adopt with that also. Unless and until we adopt with this kind of situation, we cannot make any progress. And human life, it is full of ups and downs. We have to see many things, maybe good experiences, maybe bad experiences, and one has to know how to balance oneself. That's why while talking about the Maslow's formula given by Ramaya, at that time we also need to have one more formula that I feel, the formula of satisfaction. How to feel satisfied, how to feel gratified, how to be thankful to the situation that we have. And that's why it is an opportunity to think over that. When America was progressing, in that Maslow's formula, there is one thing which I came across, that is transcendentalism. When transcendentalism was in progress in America at that time, thinkers like Thoreau, Emerson, and Whitman, now on the global level. One has to drop out the idea of sectarianism. One has to drop the taking pride in on one's own religion, or one's own region, or one's own language, or one's own knowledge. One should not have that kind of pride. One has to share everything with the people. One has to enjoy the good things happening in the world. One should not be limited and to be taking pride in one's own activity. Now it is a kind of global activity. One has to broaden the thinking process. One has to share whatever he or she has. So this is a new formula given by pandemic. So I will say pandemic has affected on various levels, no doubt. Maybe they are very bad. Maybe they are affecting on human mentality. But at the same time, pandemic has taught one good lesson to the people how to be happy and how to share what is with you. You should not to take care of yourself only or your family members only. You have to take care of the community people. If you are not taking care of your servant, it is quite possible that corona will come to you. So that kind of new thing has given by corona. As Jack Ma, the Chinese, e-marketeer, he said that when a situation change and challenges comes, at that time the inner potential of man comes out. Now it is a time that our potential, our compassionate nature has to bring out and to share with the people. That is the new formula to be given to the people. In Indian language, this pandemic is called as Mahamari. I hope you people can understand this word Mahamari. Mahamari means death everywhere. All the people are dying because of this. It is not a death on physical level. It is a death on mental level too. So once there is a fear penetrates in your mind, at that time, half the life is over. At that time, you have to make yourself bold, heroic, and courageous, and to take care how to face the situation. And once you know how to face the situation, you can handle many situations in the life. That's why I think that this discussion has given that kind of direction, and that's why it has touched medical science, psychology, education, and many things which are very vital in the human life and in the human progress. So I congratulate the coordinator, Dr. Prashant Mothe, and our expert panelists. I must mention Dayasar's contribution in the field of literature and the way he has accepted dynamism of human life. So he is the first man who published e-novel in Asian continent, and I think it is an example for many people how to change with the time. So adaptability is the principle of human life that has to be accepted, and I think that this discussion has given that kind of direction to many people who are listening it, and who are trying to understand the message from this kind of discussion. So I thank the coordinator and the organizers who invited me to be a chairperson of this session. I'm also thankful to the people, virtual audience who are listening to this kind of discussion, to them also, and by this kind of message that we can fight, we can win, and as the human life is surviving, we can survive for years together. And again, I would come to the point what Daya was saying, that we have to be adaptable with the nature, and we have to see that situations will come, and we have to fight the situation, and we have to be the winner. So thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, esteemed speakers, sir, academicians, renowned professors, respected spokespersons, dear students and friends, for making this panel discussion a grand success. There is a final request for of all the attendees that we have already shared feedback form, and kindly fill this feedback form. But if you are facing certain problems, kindly keep in touch through Telegram group. We will send and resolve your problem. I am and we assure you that each and every participant will get the certificate. Thank you, and thank you. Thanks a lot for joining with us.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All the best. Right.
I will also
Thank you,
post
sir.
the feedback link in the YouTube channel comment box. So don't worry about feedback and certificates. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
And we have given the Telegram number when you were filling up this registration form. during that time there was a Telegram group number was there and link was there. So kindly see that Telegram group link. Many were asking about it, and thank you each and everyone, and Dr. Rama ma'am,
Yes, sir.
for organizing all these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's
Thank you,
my
Radhika ma'am, Dr. Siti ma'am, Daya sir, Jiren sir, each and everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
thank you so much.
Poti ma'am for joining with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am ending the meeting now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We can leave now, no problems.
Yeah.